Well, hello and welcome to episode 138 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here as always with Michaela. And Michaela, there was a TV show way back in the day, way back in the day. I don't remember it at all, but I do remember there was a theme song from it. It was amazing. We played it in my high school marching band. It was the bee's knees. And then, fast forward a few more years. 1996, a little movie by the name of Mission Impossible came out, had Tom Cruise dangling from wires, barely like staying safe afloat on this floor. And everyone said, that's a good time. Tom Cruise, could you do that again? And he did again and again and again and again, 7 times now. And that's what we're talking about today, Michaela. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, Part 1.
That's right. Dun 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 dun. Can you whistle? Because if you whistle and you can do the doo-doo-doo,
I can. I'm going to save everyone out there, their speakers or their headphones, whatever they're listening to this on my whistling. But yeah, the theme song is great, and that movie was so much fun, right? Everyone loved it. We wanted to get Ethan Hunt back in our lives, and I watched the first couple of these. I tailed off of it a little bit, but when we saw the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 was coming out, we had to check it out. For nothing else than that crazy motorcycle stunt that they've been promoting for the last like 2 years.
Yeah, totally. So the director, Christopher McQuarrie, he has not directed all of them. The first one was actually Brian De Palma. So you can tell, and then, it moved on to John Woo, J.J. Abrams, Brad Bird. But the last four, since Rogue Nation, they have all been these amazing like stunts and lots of action, but really kind of team building. And one of the things that I loved was that they did this preview. If anybody who's been in the theater in the last 6 months, you know what I'm talking about. There was like a 5-minute preview on Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And that was this motorcycle stunt where Tom Cruise actually jumps off a cliff on a motorcycle. And then
he does.
He deploys a parachute and doesn't die. And he does it multiple times because they have to get all these different shots of him doing it. And one would be too much for me. I don't think, especially, I mean, he makes a bazillion, he's worth, like, I don't know, his weight in gold, probably. It's so cool that they did it and that he did it over and over again. But that is the thing that I definitely was looking forward to most, is watching this in real time and seeing what crazy thing he did to like what he had to save and what he had to give up in order to make that stunt, because that's got to be like a pinnacle part of the film, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It is a pivotal part of the film, and yeah, it was definitely hyped up for sure. But we're gonna have to get through the movie before we can talk about that jump and all the stunts that we see in this thing. So why don't we do this, Michaela? Let's take a quick break. We'll go and we'll get a cocktail that pays homage to the world of Mission Impossible, and we'll be right back to chat about it.
So this cocktail comes from one of my favorite places. Here at Drink the Movies, we are located, both of us are in Charlotte. So we use Regal Cinema as our cinema of choice. That is not an ad, but it could be. You could pay us to say that, Regal. We wouldn't mind. But I am from Texas. I say that. I spent 30 years of my life there. And one of the coolest movie theaters in all of Texas is called the Alamo Draft House.
Yeah, that's right. I believe that there's an Alamo Draft House in North Carolina. I think it's in Raleigh, potentially. So yeah, let's get one of those in Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll be first in line to go try out one of your cocktails, because we found a video for this Mission Impossible cocktail. It looked pretty good, I have to say. And we wanted to give it a try. Now they called it the Syndicate cocktail. So what we did was we put this cocktail into our artificial intelligence, computer, the entity, and it spit it out and it said, you know what? Nope. Perfect cocktail for this. Let's do that. So that's what we're doing today, Michaela. And this one is really good. It's really simple. It's perfect right now in this hot weather for sure. But yeah. This is kind of like a gin martini version of a Paloma, which is one of my faves.
Absolutely. So this is really fun. You're going to take a martini glass. I would chill it. And then you're going to take 1.5 ounces of some gin with some ice. You're going to add 3/4 of an ounce of pamplemousse liqueur in it. Then you're going to add 1/2 ounce of fresh squeezed lime juice. Okay. You're going to smack a basil leaf, add that sucker right on in there. And then you're going to shake it up, strain it over your now empty chilled glass. And then you're going to drink this beautiful concoction.
You are going to drink this beautiful concoction. Yeah, it is. It is light. It is very grapefruit forward. We used a really nice. It's a pamplemousse liqueur. It's from Gifford's. If you can't find that one, you might be able to just find a grapefruit liqueur. If you can't find that, you could probably substitute like a grapefruit vodka or even just some straight grapefruit juice, and then this would be a lower ABV cocktail, and that would be nice in the summer too. But yeah, shake that up, strain it, and enjoy. This was delicious. I didn't get a ton of basil in mine. My little basil leaf was like half the size of the one that they used in the Alamo Draft House video. So I gotta up my game there. Maybe try an extra leaf or two. But it was nice. It gave it just this little bit of kind of like aromatic, like herbal, like fragrance to it. And then that Gifford's Pamplemousse is excellent. We've used it a time or two here for the podcast, and it's a really good one. Yeah, and this is my jam now. This is my summer jam for sure.
Yeah.
You could probably just do this over ice too if you felt so inclined, and not even bother with the shake and strain. But what do you think about this one, Michaela?
Yeah, I definitely wanted it needs to be really cold. Because it is so grapefruity. I did get a little hint of the rose, kind of the rosy, more of a mouthfeel, really.
Mhm.
I loved this. I like a Paloma. But this I think is better. I think I might like this better than a classic Paloma. The basil leaf, yeah, I got mine was small too. I don't know if it's something going on with what's happening in the world and everything.
Basil says it's too hot. Basil's
Yeah,
out.
they're
Basil's out.
supporting the writer's strike. They're like, we're done. But so I liked that it just added this hint of like freshness. And it was just another dimension, which was fun. This is not a sweet drink. So if you want it to be sweeter, I mean, that was one thing. My husband tried it, even though he hates gin, and he was like, "Ooh, it needs to be sweeter." He thought it was way too tart. So you could add some simple syrup if you wanted to, or maybe if you had, like you said, if you couldn't find the pamplemousse, if you just wanted to add some strict grapefruit juice to it, that might add a little bit of sweetness to it. I don't know. I thought it was amazing just the way it was.
Yeah, for sure. This one was really good, and I was really excited to have this one now. Is something I can whip up. Pretty simple to put together if you have that pamplemousse liqueur for sure. So definitely give this one a try. Like we said, it's called the Syndicate, but it worked out, Michaela, because I did some fact checking, and it turns out that a lot of the key players here in our 7th installments of Mission Impossible were members of the Syndicate. Perfect. Nailed it again. So let's mix up another one of these because it's delicious. And this movie is long and a lot to talk about. So let's mix up another one. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part 1. Longest title, maybe, for Drink the Movies. I don't know. We'll be right
For
back.
sure. Spoiler warning for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. There's going to be a lot of explosions. And if you don't want to hear us talk about all of the explosions and what happens at the end, surprise, there's a part 2 coming, then you should press pause now. Go make yourself up an entity/syndicate drink, which is very tasty. You could go watch the 2-hour and 47-minute movie, and then you can come back and we can chat about all things Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
That's right. Absolutely. We will. So you might not have had a chance to see this yet. It just came out this past weekend as of recording this. So it released 2023. It was directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who has directed, this is his third one, and he's slated to be directing Dead Reckoning Part 2, which is scheduled to come out next year. So we'll see how Mr. McQuarrie wraps this thing up. This one stars Tom Cruise, of course, as Ethen Hunt, our spy, our Mission Impossible man who's choosing missions to accept before they explode. That's great. We've got Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg are back as Luther and Benji, our little secret agent helpers there, the hackers. They're a pretty fun part of this movie. We've got Haley Atwell coming on board playing Grace as a thief and potential ally. Potential enemy, frenemy, love interest. Hard to say where Grace's story is going to go. We got some more people back. We got Vanessa Kirby back as the White Widow. We've got Rebecca Ferguson back as Ilsa Faust. Yeah, we're getting this thing started off right, Michaela. Like I mentioned, this is the 7th installment now of Mission Impossible, going all the way back to 1996. So Tom Cruise has been playing Ethen Hunt now for what is that, 27 years, if my math does me correct. We just talked about Indiana Jones and how long that was. This isn't that much shorter than Indiana Jones, which is wild.
It is wild. It is wild that we're still and like Indiana Jones, right? We got Tom Cruise doing all of his own stunts. It's insane. And that reason alone, listen, this is an action movie. We're not highbrow. We're not so highbrow that we can't enjoy a good.
We're highbrow for sure.
Oh, are we?
No.
A little bit. Okay, so Brian is kind of a highbrow when it comes to this stuff. However, even then, there are some really cool cinematic, amazing minutes that this film has in it. And the first one, I think, is some of the underwater scenes. The very first shot that I remember watching during the first couple of minutes of this very long movie was these really sweeping kind of underwater scopes around like this sub that is called the Spadoval or something. Oh my gosh. Stopaval. I'm going to say it wrong. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. But it's this really, really cool submarine that's got this very strange, like giant eyeball on one end of the submarine that contains all the secrets of the universe in kind of artificial intelligence. And we don't really know what we're seeing at first. There are these really cool keys that look like normal keys, but they fit together and it looks like a cross, and it's, lights up, and it's apparently really special. And it opens this eyeball looking thing is sitting at the end of this very, very large submarine. And the thing about the submarine is that they are on their very last voyage before heading home. They're like a couple days before heading back to Russia, and the Russian Navy is talking about how amazing it is that they were able to go to, I don't know, something like 17 different coasts in the different countries around there and spy on these different countries. And this sub is completely undetectable. No one knows it's there. And it's just been really amazing. And everyone's so excited until they think they see something in the water. Their instruments are telling them that there is another sub out there, cause for great concern. And so all things go haywire after that.
All things go haywire after that. The submarine is called the Sevastopol, so you were pretty close. You were pretty close on that, Michaela.
I was not close at all, but thanks.
Yeah, the intro section with the submarine is pretty cool. Like, it's a cool shot of like you're like upside down, like underwater with the ice, and then the ice kind of flips up over top of you, and you see the submarine there. And they're like locking up this like computer looking thing. You don't know what the whole situation with this is when this like phantom other submarine comes and they shoot their torpedo at it, and then the computer kind of takes over the ship and redirects the torpedo back, explodes itself, and you're like, what is up with that? What is up with that? Well, we're going to find out later is that the computer that's been cloaking the Sevastopol really would like to be left alone to just be a supercomputer and take over the world, as far as supercomputers are wont to do. Very scary for all those people using Chat GPT right now while they're listening to that. So that is our submarine. That is what we got going on. We need to find these keys. It's actually pretty cool. The guys like drift up into the ice and you see the keys dangling. Looks pretty neat. But how are we going to get these keys? You need a secret special agent by the name of Ethen Hunt. So how are you going to do that? You're going to go to Amsterdam. There's a gentleman who's going to come in delivering some food, but that's not really food. That is a secret mission, in the form of should you choose to accept this sort of thing, in his little lunch bag. This was one of the things that bothered me. This guy in Amsterdam is supposed to be like secret agent, and he comes in and he's like, food delivery. Why wouldn't you say that in Dutch? Bro, come on, you're in the Netherlands. You're supposed to be a secret agent. You're not going to go in there speaking all English. And I know that the language is okay because we're going to be speaking Italian later. That was just something that bothered me. It wasn't really a big deal too much. But Ethen Hunt, he takes a look at these pictures. He listens to the little recording from his guy Kittredge. Says you got to go find these keys or else you're out. You got to keep doing these things, basically. Right? It's always presented as like an option. You don't have to take this mission, but basically you should just take the mission. And that's what he does.
Yeah, like the fate of the entire world is in your hands. But if you don't want to do it, I guess we can figure it out. And I do love. There's a part later.
We'll all die then.
we'll just die and it'll be fine. I do love how later there's a whole meeting where they're talking about this, and the director of the CIA, like he's played by Cary Elwes, and he's amazing. And he's like, wait a minute, let me understand. If something is so awful that we can't legally do it because it's going to break like every international covenant that we have with every country, we just kind of leave word with this group of like rogue humans. Is that what happens? Like that? And really the way he makes it sound, it's like it's amazing that this show ever got off the ground in like 1972. But it did. And now it's made bazillions of dollars because it sounds like not a good thing, but it's actually pretty brilliant. So yeah, Ethen Hunt, he gets his mission. It's not in a DVD player on a train or a plane anymore. It's in a food delivery box, which is good because it doesn't ruin the movie thing when it explodes or set the plane on fire, anything like that, which I was always very concerned about. That it's in like a very nice fire safe box. And Ethen Hunt decides to go to the desert. He goes to the Arabian desert at this place called the Empty Quarter, but just think of the hottest place on the planet. And that's where he went.
Yeah,
in the middle of a sandstorm. He decided to go there and find his friend Ilsa, who apparently was in the last film. She is played by the amazing Rebecca Ferguson, and she is also one of these folks, right? And she's not an IMF. She's no longer an IMF agent, but she is on the run, and she apparently has one half of these two parts of the key, and so he's got to find her. And one of the things I love about the Mission Impossible series is that there's a lot of kind of these romantic connotations that happen, but it's not super adult. So you get the feeling that they care about each other. You get the feeling that, maybe there's more than friendship here, but it's certainly not over in some of the more kind of, it's not a 007 moment where he's like having chicks left and right. It's very different.
Yeah, he's a little bit more of a relationship first kind of guy, Ethen Hunt. So yeah, he is off to the deserts to go find Ilsa Faust. She has one half of this ring. She is a member of the Syndicates, I guess, which is where our cocktail name came from. So he goes to the desert. It looks amazing because you see like these people riding horseback through, kind of this desert section. You have Tom Cruise there like laying down on top of a horse over this little ridge, and then he gets up and kind of gives pursuit as the sandstorm comes in, and it looks really, really great. And he eventually catches up with Ilsa Faust. Unfortunately, she is DOA when he gets there, right? Dead on arrival, but he gets the key. That's good. That's what we think for right now. And he is headed back to carry on with his mission, I guess, basically, right? He has one half of this key. We need to find out where the other half of this key is. And the best way to do that is to go to the airport in Dubai. Apparently, they have tracked down that someone is trying to make some sort of sale of this key. So we are headed off. And that's where our helpers are going to come in. Luther and Benji, played by Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg. I really love kind of the banter between these two. Ving Rhames is amazing. I always really like Ving Rhames and all the things that he does, and he's great, and he's kind of the most like sentimental and like adult one of these, right? Is keeping these guys in line. I really like him through this section here, but they're trying to identify who is carrying this key. So then you're going to start getting some more little like trickery and stuff like that, because Ethen Hunt's looking for this key, but some people, they're also looking for Ethen Hunt. And then to throw another wrench into the situation, you have Haley Atwell, who's playing Grace, is a thief who comes in and just throws a monkey wrench into this whole thing.
She does, or at least that's what we're led to believe at first. She's like some random thief. So there's a couple of things that they're talking about when they get into the room and they're like, we got a person on this and it's Ethen Hunt and we can't really tell you about it to the director. They go on and on a little bit too long about how awful this AI stuff is. One of the things that they're saying is that this AI can basically trickle in and like insert itself into every corner of the universe that we now know. So like airport security, we've got this team that's looking for Ethen, and they think they see him a couple times because the face recognition technology is telling us it's him. It's actually not him. And so you never know if you're looking at a screen or you've gotten a text or something, you don't know if it's if it's the real person trying to talk to you, or if it's, this entity that is just trying to preserve itself, which is really terrifying, actually, when we think about it. I'm looking at you, Snapchat, GPH stuff. But This poor, well, I say poor girl, Haley Atwell's Grace, she kind of gets stuck in the mix of this. We think that she just haphazardly steals this key because she thinks it looks cool, and there's instant connection between Ethen Hunt and her. I love the banter that they have because he leaves her like a lighter and he's like, something to remember me by, and he tries to steal it back. They're in the middle of the Abu Dhabi airport, which looks amazing. I've been trying to find if they actually shot in the airport or not. And I find it really interesting because we're going to talk about some of the things that happen. The studio was really explicit in the credits that they did not do, that they were like, look, we didn't actually blow this thing up. You can still go see it. But I wonder if they actually had this huge chase scene in the airport, because it looks really cool. You've got Ethen Hunt jumping up and down.
Yeah, I bet that they did really film in the airport because they filmed really on the side of the Burj Khalifa, also in Dubai. So it makes sense. They're apparently in pretty good with the locals there. So I'm guessing that they were really at that airport. Never been to the airport, so I couldn't say for sure. But I would guess that at least some of the exterior stuff and him running across the roof, I bet was really at the real place.
I haven't been there in years, but it looked exactly the same. So I was going to say they did a really good job if they did it on a soundstage somewhere, because that whole space at the top, because there's a plane that's leaving. Grace manages to have the key and she gets on a plane it looks like to Rome. And so Ethen Hunt, you think, is going to try and somehow get on the plane himself. And how's he going to do that? He's going to climb to the roof, which looks amazing and huge. And he's just like running the whole, I don't know, 30 minutes of this film is just shots of Ethan running in various places, looking amazing as Tom Cruise. I mean, it's so great.
That's right. Yeah, he's been running, he's been riding horses. Now, when he was running across there, I thought he was gonna like run to like catch up with the plane to like get on it or something somehow, but he just ends up in Rome somehow. But yeah, this first section is really fun. He's wearing like the sunglasses that can like tick him off, like who is wearing this thing. And then there's something else that crazy happens in the airport too. There's like this bomb that Benji has to go and defuse, and it's like this like big puzzle thing. And kind of the thing that they're doing like in this puzzle is it's asking like Benji like personal information about itself, so it can further like drill down on the artificial intelligence of Benji and learn about all these people. It's kind of neat, but also kind of real creepy as people that get automated ads based on things that they've been talking about. So yeah, little too lifelike there for my liking. But we are on our way to Rome, which basically just serves as a stopover so we can have a sweet car chase. Because basically they get to Rome, right? You get Grace there. She is arrested. Her attorney is going to come in. Her attorney, of course, is not really an attorney. It's really Ethen Hunt. He comes in. He is trying to get her broken out of there, and she does not seem to be ready to accept this guy's help. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, you got a bunch of people chasing Ethen Hunt. You've got the American people, Briggs and Degas, played by Shea Wiggum and Greg Tarzan Davis. They're chasing down Ethen Hunt, trying to get him right. Apparently, he's going a little bit too rogue for everyone's liking at the CIA and all of those places. But then you also have the people that are working for the entity, and like literally, I guess like the entity kind of embodiment himself, Gabriel, who's played by S.A. Morales, and then you've got Plum Kementif, who's playing Paris, who's kind of like this, I don't know, like hit woman kind of a figure, I guess, alongside. So you've got like this three-way chase through Rome. It looks absolutely insane, which kind of culminates with them driving up and down the Spanish Steps, which the producers of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 would like you to know wasn't real. Didn't really drive on the Spanish Steps. No cause for concern.
Yeah, I love this scene because again, I want to believe, given all of the Mission Impossibles that I've looked at and all the car chase scenes, this group has some sort of deal going with BMW for sure, because their BMWs all over this, which is why it's so funny that Ethen Hunt is like, hey, I found a safe car. It's like 3 blocks away. We're gonna run. We'll be fine. Grace is like, I'm not driving anymore. I'm done. I've almost died like 6 times. They get to this kind of row of cars, and you think he's going to get into the Ferrari, and he ends up getting into this little Fiat 500. And it's so cute. It's bright yellow, which is great, so we can easily spot it. And the back and forth of going down the steps and through these tiny little cobblestone roadways. I thought it was really fresh. It was a fresh way to look at a car chase, because we've seen that a lot. We've seen a lot of car chases in Mission Impossible and elsewhere. And I really liked how they were also handcuffed to each other. So they're trying to finagle that and figure that piece out. It ends up where Ethen Hunt actually has to take off the steering wheel so that he can get himself out of the car in time to avoid a train. Really, just that part's really fun, because it wasn't too long. It was just long enough to keep you interested, and then when you were about ready to be done, they were done with it, which is really good, I think, from a car chase perspective.
Yeah, for sure, because they can tend to drag on a little bit, but this one, yes, it felt like the right amount of time, and it was very kind of creative in how they did it and how they were dealing with all of the mopeds and motorcycles and scooters within and around Rome, and kind of the traffic around Rome, and like I mentioned, going up and down like the Spanish Steps. There's kind of this really funny section where Grace is driving the little Fiat, and Paris is like chasing down in like this gigantic armored like Hummer looking thing, and it's literally just going around in a circle like around this kind of roundabout sort of thing. That was pretty funny. I have to say, the special effects here, I mean, look really great. There's a particular part in the very beginning when Grace jumps into a police car and is trying to make her way out, and she gets kind of T-boned and the car spins out. That looks like insane. Like it felt like you were in the car accident right there with Grace, and the airbag deploys and stuff like that. But the moral of the story here is that Grace has the key. She gets away. She is on her way to Venice. Like I said, the Rome stop to me just felt like we need to go to Rome because we want to film a car chase in Rome. The real action is going to be in Venice, and that is where Grace is heading because she has a potential buyer for this key. And we're learning a little bit more about kind of the players of this now, right? We're learning about who Gabriel is and was. Gabriel is like this real person who has some previous history with Ethen Hunt and that kind of stuff, which is no good. And it's basically being controlled by this entity sort of thing, right? And the entity kind of knows. He knows about all these buyers. He knows how to pit them against each other. He knows how to basically kind of game everything, right? Because it's a computer, so it can basically just run like 10 billion simulations and know exactly how these things are going to go. And that's what Gabriel does. He's like, I know that tomorrow I'm going to have the keys. And spoiler, that's exactly what happens. But the Venice section is really cool because Venice is really neat, an interesting place, and it's really neat to film and looked pretty fun. But what do you think about our time here in Venice, Michaela?
I really liked it. I thought it was great that right around the time you're feeling very despondent for Ethen Hunt because he has lost Grace, he's lost the key. He's still hooked up to a steering wheel. This van shows up, opens the doors, and it's his friends, all three of them, which is spoiler warning. Ilsa did not die. She came back because he helped save her life in the desert, and she couldn't stay away. And so she's there with Luther and Benji, and they are they're coming up with a plan. There's a big party where they're going to meet this buyer, and they're like, obviously, Grace is going to be there. We're going to figure this out. How are we going to do this? And it's really nice because there is a moment where Ethen and Ilsa kind of stand and they get to look at the fact that, at the landscape and say, well, we've never been to Venice and this is kind of nice. But there's all this, if you've not been to Venice, it's the city that's in basically it's sinking into the ocean. And so there's all these gondola, like, oh God, what are they called? Gondolas, riders. Yeah. And so you've got, so there's this big party that's supposed to happen. The party looks really cool. I want to be invited to a party that looks that cool. The music is really jumping. There's a lot of very good looking, I think, half naked people on like,
if a world-ending supercomputer wants to invite Drink the Movies to this party, we'll go.
Right. We'll be there. We'll be there for it. But that's kind of where all of this comes to a head, and we finally see who all these players are. And it turns out that the buyer who's asked Grace to steal this, because she wasn't just a random thief, she was set up to be like intrinsically brought into this whole big spider web of events by the entity itself. she goes and meets the White Widow, and we know the White Widow from the movie before this. If you don't know the White Widow because you didn't see the movie before this, you're not really missing much. But the most important thing to know is that she is real cold-hearted, and Gabriel's there, and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna help you buy this, and we're gonna get this. We're gonna get both ends of this key. We're going to make more money than ever. We're going to do what the entity wants, because the entity will probably take care of us if we do that." And it's really tough because, again, Gabriel knows Ethen from a former life. They used to be friends. And I guess really Gabriel is the one who created the crime space in which Ethen got himself in trouble, where he was asked, "Hey, you can go to jail for a bazillion years and never live see the light of day, or you can be part of the Mission Impossible team." And so while it's a choice, it's not really that great of a choice. So there's this huge hatred and anger between the two. And Gabriel does things to Ethen just because he wants to cause him pain. And so we see that he makes this deal knowing that the entity can hear him. And he's like, "Look, you can either choose Ilsa or you can choose Grace, but one of them is going to die today. And I'm still going to get the key." And it's like, this is impossible. There's no way that this is going to go well.
Yeah, the kind of one of the things here about this first part, and obviously it's going to kind of end with a little bit of a down note as we have to kind of conclude the story in the second part. But this story is a lot to do with Ethen Hunt just kind of getting defeated, kind of especially kind of through this. It does end on a little bit brighter note, which we're going to get to here in a second. But especially here in this Venice section, you get kind of all of these people who have all this history together, and how basically they're all going to be coming together, and the entity is all going to pull these strings, and get them to do exactly as it's predicting that they're going to do. You get some really cool stuff in Venice. The party, it looks amazing. It's in like this like piazza of Venice somewhere. I'm not 100% sure where it is, but it has all these like projections up on the wall. That looks really cool. There's a big fight then through Venice as Ethen Hunt is trying to chase down Gabriel to get Grace and to get Ilsa out of there, to to keep one of them from not dying, and ends up getting turned around and stuck in this little alleyway. Spares Paris's life, which is nice. That's going to come back and be pretty handy here in the future, as we're going to learn. But you get this kind of fight scene between Gabriel and Ilsa. Ilsa's like wielding a sword. Gabriel has like these cool like switchblade knives, and the visualization of it looks amazing. I don't know if that was actually in Venice, or if that was done on like a soundstage kind of a thing, but it's kind of where the two canals kind of meets underneath of this river, and it looked really cool. It's like lit just by like the moon. It looked pretty awesome. It looked very like Kill Bill-esque, I guess, with the sword there. I thought that was pretty cool. But bad news, Ilsa meets her end. Grace is able to live to fight another day, and basically now Grace is on the hook, right? She is going to be brought in by the IMF team and says, "Hey, you messed up, Grace. You got in over your head. You didn't know what you were doing. You should have listened to us from this whole time. And now you can either become one of us, or you can go to prison. And that's your option, right?" She is met with that same choice that Ethen Hunt's had to make, that Luther's had to make, that Benji's had to make. And she's going to make, hopefully, the right decision.
That's right. Yeah, it's really sad because she has to come to terms with the fact that she's getting her butt kicked by Gabriel, right? She is like no match for him in terms of like hand-to-hand combat. And then of course, Ilsa shows up with a sword. Why she doesn't just show up with a gun, beyond me. Probably not the wisest move. Just saying, but it looks cool. And that ultimately
don't bring a sword to a knife fight.
That's right. Why would you do that? Bring a gun to the knife fight. Do that.
She had the world's giganticest sniper rifle at the beginning of the movie. Where was
that?
Where was
that? Where was that? Even like a teeny tiny little baby like hand pistol would have been better than a sword, in my opinion, but probably wouldn't have lasted as long. It wouldn't have ended the way that we needed it to. So, but I do like this because again, we start to empathize a lot more with Grace and try and learn more about her. And her whole thing in this is she was like, I want a fresh start. I want some walking around money. Surely I can just figure this out, and I don't need to, give my life to this team. Why would I do that? And I really love the way that Luther and Benji kind of tell her, hey, we do this because we want to. We do this because we believe that what we're doing is the right thing, and we don't have families anymore. We're not allowed to. We've seen in the past Mission Impossibles, it's not real good to do that. And so they're like, but we have each other. And Ethen Hunt is always saying that he will definitely give his life for any member of the team, no matter what. And so it's kind of sweet in a way. And I really like that it becomes, the last few films have really focused on that team aspect of it, instead of it just being like the Ethen Hunt show, because Ethen Hunt's amazing, but he wouldn't be able to do any of these things without these really amazing team members putting together a plan, wearing the masks, making the stuff, doing all the things. And so I do like that they have got an idea. They're like, we're gonna meet Gabriel on this train. We're gonna meet the White Widow on this train. We're gonna dress up. We're gonna wear masks, which is super famous, like Mission Impossible stuff of old and very classic. And so they put together these plans, and they're gonna do it, except for the fact that the mask making machine that makes the most amazing, like human looking, realistic looking masks dies. So they only have one mask, so they have to tweak it a little bit. And this means that Tom Cruise has to get on the train some other way. He can't go and dress up like one of her henchmen, one of the White Widow's henchmen. He has to somehow get on the train some other way. Insert a giant motorcycle.
Insert the motorcycle in the giant jump that we've been talking about. Yeah, that's right. So Grace is on her way then to the train to get kind of this key, right? She's going to use her pickpocketing skills. She is going to be wearing the face of the White Widow there to go in and have this meeting with none other than Kittredge himself, who I guess is trying to get the key for himself. We also have the head of, is it the CIA? I don't know, the head of the intelligence for the whole thing, Demlinger, Carrie Elwes' character. He's there trying to get the key. Everyone basically wants this key. Every government entity in the world wants this key. They all want to be in control of this supercomputer. Except bad news, the supercomputer doesn't want to be under the control of anyone. It wants to stay buried in the bottom of the ocean with no one having this key. So that's kind of what we're doing with there. And yeah, Ethen Hunt has to get onto this train, right? He's got to get on there to get Grace out of there to make this whole thing come to fruition. So I really like he's on his little like dirt bike kind of thing riding around. He's trying to get it, but the train is like running away. Gabriel's like knocked the brake off and turned it up to full speed, so he's not been able to catch up with it. And you've got Benji's like, he's like, just keep going.
It's
And then
my
eventually
favorite part. It's so funny because he's like, well, I'm going up a mountain. When do I start going down? He's like, just keep going. Just keep going. It's gonna be fine.
It'll be fine. He gets to the edge of the mountain. He pulls up and stops. He says, Benji, you are an idiot. What are you doing? I'm going to die. He's like, just jump off of it and go down and get on the train. He's like, I got to get far away from this, which is why then, of course, he drives his motorcycle over the edge. And that's pretty cool, right? And you get the great stunt that we've been seeing now for the past year, kind of in the movie theaters and all the promo stuff of him riding up and going off and skydiving down to it. It only is about, I don't know, like 10 seconds of film that they had to do all this and spend all this money for, but it does look pretty cool. I will say it does look pretty cool. And we kind of catch up with Ethen then, as we don't really see his descent, but he does come crashing into the train, which is really great. Grace is able to get the key, but we're having like a knockdown drag out. This 4-way kind of chase has continued to go. Briggs and Degas are still there chasing after him. You still got Gabriel there. You've got Kittredge there now. Like everyone in the whole movie is on this train now at this moment. It's pretty bananas, and this train is about ready to go over a bridge, and that's no good.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, because there's a bomb, like a bunch of explosives are attached to the legs of this bridge. It was actually pretty controversial. It was a bridge in Poland. It's the 1908 railway bridge, and apparently it was really hard to film. They had to change the timing of it and everything because they actually filmed on the bridge, which is interesting. One of the things that's really important to note here is Ethen Hunt knows he has to make a decision, because Gabriel knows where the key needs to go in order to stop the entity. He's the only one that seems to know where that is. And
Where the
so
submarine is, yeah.
right. And Luther has to ask Ethan, hey, if you see him and you guys get into a fight and you're still really angry about all this stuff that he's done and put you through, you can't kill him. Do you know that you can't kill him? Because we need to find out where this key goes. Like, we need to figure out where it is, because they don't even know it's on a submersible at this point. They have no idea. Yep. And so, of course, this is when, his decision to not kill Paris, which was that really like kick butt, like assassin chick. She's so awesome. He decides not to spare her. Well, he decides to spare her life, and she ends up betraying him, betraying Gabriel to go ahead and help Ethan at the end, but not before meeting her own demise, which is really sad. The way that goes down, but very, very indicative of just the kind of cruelty and absolute loyalty that Gabriel has to this entity, because the entity just uses math and all of these simulated probabilities and just says, look, I know that you spared her life, and so now I can't trust her because she has to owe you her life, so she might help you. And so not only does he kill the director of intelligence, but he kills her, and then they get into this big fight at the end of the train.
That's right. Everyone is fighting. This train is coming to an end. There's kind of an amazing looking section there where Ethen Hunt and Grace are up like on top of the train. Gabriel's up on top of the train. Briggs, like the American kind of person that's tasked with bringing in Ethan, are on top of the train, and Ethan saves Paris's life earlier in the film. He saves Briggs' life, kind of on top of this train, which is really pretty neat. And he, tells Briggs, "You got to go stop the train. Get everyone to the back of the train, right? The train's got to stop. It's gonna go over this bridge," and that's kind of one of the kind of coolest sections I thought of the movie. I like kind of the car chase stuff in Rome, but basically the train gets kind of the end of the tracks. You're going over this bridge, and you're just seeing the cars kind of start dangling over and just going down one by one. And you have Ethen Hunt and Grace there, kind of at the very bitter end. They've commandeered the key back, right? Pickpocketed Gabriel from the key there one last time, so they're in possession of the key, but they have to get out of this train first. And it's kind of cool because each of the train cars goes, and each of the train cars is different, right? So they go through like the kitchen car, and then they go through like a dining car, and then they go through like this other with like all this luggage and stuff. And it looks really cool as they're kind of going through and getting up there. And then finally they're able to get up there and get saved by Paris, who tells Ethan that the key opens something on the Sevastopol, right? The submarine. So that is kind of what we're left with at the end, right? Ethan has the key. Ethan knows where he needs to go, and presumably that's what we're going to be finding out in Dead Reckoning Part 2 next year. So that's kind of where it ends, Michaela, right? You're left on a. It's not really like, I mean, it's a cliffhanger in the sense that we need to finish this adventure, but it wasn't really like a cliffhanger about like who had the key or where it was. Like that stuff was pretty much settled. So kind of like that, right? You didn't have to sit for like a year being like, well, who has the key exactly, what's going on, but we kind of knew where everyone was at this part of the film.
Yeah, no, and I really like that there's plenty of time in this next adventure that they are going to craft for us. I hope it's not 2 hours and 40 minutes long. However, there's plenty of time to add some.
It'll be 3 hours and 40 minutes long.
Well, maybe. But there's plenty of wiggle room for them to kind of do some more fun stuff with this, right? Like, you're not thinking that, okay, well, it's now just a final showdown between Ethan and Gabriel, Gabriel doesn't have the key. Ethan has the key. Now he has to find the
Sevastopol.
In order, and it's still sitting at this bottom of this ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of waiting. And it's interesting because the entity now has to know that it failed in getting it, and so it's got to be pretty scared. So what started to go through my mind in the credits of watching this, I was like, well, what could possibly happen now? Because when people get scared, they have this fight or flight kind of desire, right? They're either going to stay and fight, or they're going to try and run away. The entity can't really go anywhere because it's already everywhere. So what is it going to do to try and mess things up? How far is it going to take this to stay alive? We have, as humans, are willing to go pretty far. So it's a little daunting to think about how they're gonna shake this one out and how Ethan's gonna somehow come out on top, right?
hmm Yeah, for sure. It does leave a little bit of like you said, wiggle room there. Paris, who we thought had died, is left a little bit kind of ambiguous as Briggs, our U.S. agent, comes, and I think kind of the last thing he says there is that there's still a pulse, or there's barely a pulse on Paris. So can Paris be back? That's possible. We don't know for sure. How is Gabriel going to react and respond to losing this key? Kind of a plot hole for me, right? The entity. Wants to get this key. Gabriel had it. Why didn't he just have Gabriel just destroy the key? Done. Problem solved. But that's okay. That's okay. No big deal. No big deal. Ethen Hunt has the key, and that's where we are headed to next time. So that is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. The story itself is pretty good. It's pretty straightforward, but kind of the I don't know, like the backbone of it, it gets a little convoluted when you're talking about kind of this AI stuff and how you keep track of that. So hopefully we didn't get too much in the weeds there on that. But this movie was pretty fun, Michaela. I mean, there was a lot of good action. There were a lot of good stunts and things. The car chase in Rome was great. Kind of like I said, kind of that sword fight, knife fight looked really cool. And then obviously, kind of Tom Cruise riding through the Swiss Alps there on motorbike is pretty fun, and diving off into the train. He comes like crashing into the train, which is a really great great scene. Your kiddo like jumped out of his seat when he came crashing in, so that was pretty fun. So
yeah, no, this was good. One of the things I really like about most of the Mission Impossible films is they're PG-13, but they're fairly kid friendly. Like I said, there's not a lot of nudity there or sex. There's some violence, but I thought for me, and I know my child, this was okay for my son to watch. Other parents might feel differently, but I really like the fact that they've kind of made these action films that don't have to be gratuitously violent or like super sexy. You can have these films that are still really good fun that don't have a lot of that in it. And now we're focusing on the different kind of action pieces and again, some of the camaraderie aspects of the script. And I really like that. I think that this is one of my favorites. I've watched all of them, and this was one of my favorites because of the differences in the locations and sort of the creativity around some of the action. And I really loved the pickpocketing. I mean, to me, it looked really slick and cool, and it was very akin to sort of the first couple of films where they were just trying to get their footing as to what they had here with this franchise. I thought it was really fun. I'm excited to see how it's going to end up, where part 2 is. It looks like we're not actually going to have to wait that long because it's supposed to come out in 2024, so only a year away. It's I think they filmed it already, so they're just kind of letting this one make its bazillions, and then they're going to start over again. It's already made 235 million according to Wikipedia, so it's in really good shape to be able to continue the story. There's a big question whether this is going to be Ethen Hunt's last hurrah, and if he's going to pass the baton to somebody else. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but Tom Cruise, he still looks like he's 35, so I don't know why we just don't set up another 7 like right now.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Yeah, I got the feeling kind of on one hand that maybe it was setting it up to where Haley Atwell is going to kind of take over as like the head of this team potentially. But I mean, yeah, like you said, Tom Cruise could certainly go on doing it. He still looks young enough and seems to be enjoying it enough to be driving motorcycles off of that and doing that. But yeah, getting older there. Same could be said, for Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg. I don't know how much longer they'd be interested in playing those roles, but it seemed definitely like they could be setting it up to either pass the baton or at least create some sort of kind of fulfilling conclusion where Ethen Hunt can kind of walk away from this life or earn his quote unquote freedom, I guess, from it, so to speak. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting because Kittredge is still alive. The the White Widow is still alive there on the train. So still a lot of players involved in this to see how this thing completely wraps up. But we'll have to wait for another day to talk about that. But we're not going to have to wait another day to make up our entity syndicate cocktail from the Alamo Draft House because I'm not waiting any longer for that because it was delicious. So definitely, if you're listening to this, make one of those up and let us know what you think about it. And let us know what you think about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know what your favorite installment of the Mission Impossible film franchise was. Let us know what your thoughts and theories are about Part 2. We want to hear all of that stuff. You can do that on our social medias. It's on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Drink the Movies, and on Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. It's at Drink the Movies on Threads. Come check us out on there and let us know what you think. You can join our Discord. You can join our Patreon. We're going to be coming out with a bonus episode talking all about Barbie next week after we get a chance to see that. That's going to be good. That's on patreon.com/drinkthemovies. Go check that out. That's pretty fun. And make sure if you're listening to this, go back and listen to last week's episode. Noise is Off. That was Michaela's favorite. She would really love it if you went back and listened to that one again for sure.
Yeah. It'd be even better if you've seen the movie.
Almost so as convoluted, almost as convoluted as Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
That's right. Yeah, and you can do that by finding us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Good Pods, Nearpods, anywhere. If you're listening right now, whatever you're listening to us on, perfect. Don't change a thing. Just hit the subscribe button. If you're liking what you're hearing, let everybody know. There's a way to give a review on whatever medium that you're on to show us how much you like us. If you don't like us, don't say anything. We don't need that kind of negativity in our lives. But we're really excited about building this community out of folks who love movies and cocktails alike. We love getting requests from you all and hearing about the cocktails you're making and the films you're watching and the shows you're watching and the music you're listening to, all the things really. Cocktail that you can drink to, you should be able to talk to us about, and all of that. It really helps us get all the Drink the Movie stuff out there. So thanks.
Absolutely. So that is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. It was a good time. We laughed, we cried, we jumped off of cliffs on our motorcycle. It was a really, really fun time to be alive. Go check out that cocktail, the Entity Syndicate. That's on our website, drinkthemovies.com. You can find our recipes and recaps for all of that stuff. But for now, Michaela, that was quite the adventure. We went from like the ocean to the desert to Italy. I think I probably would have stayed in Italy, I guess, if I was about my had to make decisions for myself, but it was a good time. And next week we're going to be back to talk about something else just as equally epic. Oppenheimer is on the slate for next week, so stay tuned for that and let us know what you think. So I don't know, Michaela, let's mix up another cocktail and head out of here. We'll talk to everyone next time on
Drink the Movies. So you're telling me that we just leave word. I mean, I couldn't say it any better. His incredulousness was amazing. He's like, we're supposed to be the most powerful entity, country in the entire world. And when we run into a problem, we just leave word Uber Eats box.
And they just do the mission if they choose to accept it. Pretty good.
What could go wrong?